Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. We are at episode 73. This is your co-host Jay Cheema with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma, and the Pro Football Radio senior contributor Eric Burgess, aka the Burge. Fellas, welcome in. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. How y'all doing?
Doing good, y'all. Happy holidays to you too, and I'm glad we were able to get back on this horse prior to the holidays, because I feel like we all need a little bit of a group therapy this evening.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys. It's been a while since we got on to record this, and I know you said Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I would like to say Happy Festivus.
Ah, yes.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
So we can air our grievances tonight, because we need it.
Got the whiskey ready. 112 proof, straight fucking napalm. Let's go.
So, to give you guys a quick rundown of the content of this podcast, we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills clinching their first AFC East title in 25 years. We'll give you guys an update on the playoff picture, talk about the Patriots and how they're finally eliminated from the playoff picture. Then we'll roll back into Week 16, give you guys a preview of the Dolphins versus the Raiders, the Eagles versus the Cowboys, the Rams versus the Seahawks, and the Titans versus the Packers. But before all of that, and also we'll do a Take It to the Bank parlay, and we'll finish out with the Fantasy Bullets with Burge. But before all of that, before we start, I gotta ask a real question, a serious question that's been on my mind for the last couple of days now. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
But
without question.
But why? Why though?
It takes place during Christmas.
That's
I
it?
now have a machine gun. Ho ho ho.
You know,
He. You know, like I just said, like I now have a machine gun. Ho ho ho. They're at a Christmas party. Christmas party gets taken over by a terrorist group. Disguises dead body with sweatshirt that says "I have a machine gun now." Puts the Santa Claus hat on the dude. I think that the credits even end with a White Christmas or some nonsense like that. Oh yeah, that is a Christmas movie. Just because it was made in the summertime does not negate the fact that this is a Christmas movie.
well, listen.
If I have to watch Elf in June, this is a Christmas movie.
Well, listen. When he's running around in a shirt, right? Those A shirts he's wearing underneath, and it's seems like it's 70 degrees out. Like, it's not very Christmassy, right? It doesn't.
Well,
give
he's
you
in
that.
California. You know, what is he supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Mail snow in?
The whole premise of the Nakatomi Tower was a Christmas party.
Huh?
Thank you.
True.
Thank you.
And it's a Christmas movie, and it takes place
There's
during
Christmas trees. There's Christmas trees in the
Absolutely.
lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So I've been, so my sister's out here in Connecticut with me. So we're just kind of, we're doing stuff like, watching old Christmas movies and stuff like that. And, we're watching Home Alone 2. And we started watching The Grinch, man. And I'm just blown away at some of the lyrics in that Grinch song. It's been a while since I heard it. But when I heard it like a couple days ago, I thought to myself, yo, this fucking town needs to get raided by the Grinch. I am on the Grinch's side now. I hope he destroys all of their Christmas. Let me just give you a couple of these lyrics that I actually had to look up. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel. Mr. Grinch, you're a bad banana. I am so who the hell is this evil person making up the song? Like, I'm on the Grinch's side here, man.
Well, I'll say this much though: at the time in the movie, the shoe did fit. He wasn't a pleasant guy to be around.
But if they're making these kind of songs up about him, I get it, man. Listen, you're a monster. You got termites in your smile. Like, what is that shit? Fuck it.
Ain't that far
Wreck the
off.
town. Wreck the town,
Now
Grinch.
I gotta ask: was this the original 1960s one?
OG, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right, because I know they did a live animation kind of one recently, right?
Yeah, that was a good
they
one
had
too.
The Jim Carrey one
yeah.
in between.
Jim Carrey one, I haven't seen that, but the new one, the 2020 one that came out, I think it came out last year. That was really good, actually. I watched that with my sister as one, and it was really good. But last question before we move on: what is your guys' favorite Christmas movie? And then we'll get into some football.
Ooh.
Oh, this is easy for me.
What's
what
up
do you
for
got?
Burge?
Jingle All the Way with the Arnold, the Turbo Man.
So I'm tied with first, and it's between the Jingle All the Way for that exact reason right there. And then close, like on the tie, the first Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Like that.
With you there.
That is freaking hilarious. Like if your sister hasn't seen that yet, the Santa Claus, just the first one. Don't even bother with the sequels.
No. Yep.
Just stick with that. You will not be disappointed. It's actually great. I think that movie really withstood the test of time, like today.
Yep. Well, for me, it's always going to be Christmas Vacation. Like, I'm surprised you brought that up.
It's a good one, too.
That is my absolute favorite Christmas movie. One of my favorite movies in general. I'll watch it, like, in the middle of June as well, just to kind of refresh my memory. But I love that movie. Watched it again. Had a great time. Laughed my ass off. Great fucking movie, man. Mm-hmm. All right. Enough of that. Let's get into some serious football discussions. Myself, Puma, and Burg have been going very ham in the group chat, and I think it's time we bring this conversation into the podcast. And the first topic we're going to talk about is the Buffalo Bills finally clinched their first AFC East title in 25 years by beating, who was it the other night? The Denver Broncos, 43-19, wherever the ridiculous score was at the end of the game. It wasn't a game, but since we have the resident Bills fan on the podcast, Mr. Brandon Silva, I figured we'd give him this time to just to gloat and show his appreciation for the Bills. Go for it, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm don't get it twisted. I'm still a Dolphins fan.
Oh well, we are getting it twisted. We're getting twisted. We don't know where the allegiances lie.
I mean, we're gonna get to that. I mean, you can't look at what the Buffalo Bills have done, not only just this season, but really since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have taken over the general manager and head coaching positions. I mean, this franchise, and I mean, you guys can attest to this as well too. Like prior to the Pagulas buying this after Ralph Wilson died, I mean, they were kind of mired in mediocrity, and mediocrity is being a very kind word. They had a great year with Rex Ryan, and again, great year is a very loose term. This franchise, kind of like the Dolphins, has really not had a franchise quarterback since Jim Kelly retired. I mean, you could go off the list, and I think really the one quarterback that was stable at times prior to Josh Allen taking over the job was Tyrod Taylor. I mean, after that, you had Drew Bledsoe for a cup of coffee, Brad Johnson after he won the Super Bowl,
EJ Manuel
as the backup quarterback for the Buccaneers,
JP
Lossman. Bust out of, I think he was drafted out of Tulane.
EJ Manuel, right?
EJ Manuel, he was a first round draft pick that didn't pan out. But looking at what these two guys have done, they've changed the culture. They've really supplemented draft picks with veteran signings. I mean, it's 2020 right now, and I still think that the Cole Beasley signing was probably one of my favorite free agency signings last year, next to the Jamison Crowder signing with the New York Jets. I mean, when I saw the Cole Beasley signing, that to me cued that they're trying to do everything they can to make Josh Allen the more complete quarterback. Because at the time, if he didn't have the first read, he was just going to try to take off and run and hurdle over a person for 50 yards, or he was just a one-read quarterback, and it kind of became an adventure throwing the football. But you look at what he's done now with Cole Beasley, the John Brown signing last year, which is underappreciated in my opinion, the Stephon Diggs trade this year. You look at what he's done over the course of his career. His completion percentage is up 17% from his rookie year, up 11% from last year. Brian Daboll is putting this guy in spots to succeed, but you also have to give credit for the work that Josh Allen has done with Jordan Palmer, his personal QB coach, who also works with Deshaun Watson and Sam Darnold, and the list goes on. And he worked with a couple other draft picks last year. And he's cleaned up his mechanics. He's cleaned up his footwork. He's more accurate throwing the ball downfield than he was coming into the season. And, right now, he's not going to win MVP, but he's putting up stats that Cam Newton put up in his MVP season in 2015 with 30 passing touchdowns at the moment and 8 rushing touchdowns. And I think he made a claim to at least have a seat at the table. Again, doesn't mean he's going to win it. Any other year he probably would if he wasn't up against the Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers that are balling out of their mind right now. But, you have to look at what the Buffalo Bills are doing, and it starts at the top, and they've really changed this culture. And as a Dolphins fan, I can respect everything that they've done because that's what the Dolphins are doing right now with Stephen Ross finally giving the reins to Brian Flores and Chris Greer to mold this team into what they think the expectation is with the draft picks that they have.
Birch, floor's all yours, sir.
Dude. Are you even a Dolphins fan?
Oh,
you have a Josh Allen jersey.
You're right.
I would never buy the jersey of my division rival, no matter even if Tom Brady goes to the New York Jets after this past year. I'm not buying it. I hate Tom Brady. He goes to the New York Jets. Come on.
I had a Chris Martin jersey when I was a kid when he went to the Jets.
Look. The Buffalo Bills are playing great football right now. I don't think anybody can dispute that. You look at the run they've gone on the past 5 or so weeks where they're basically taking out everybody in their path, teams that I never thought that they were gonna beat, and I lost money on teams in these games that I thought they were gonna lose. That being said, you can't anoint Josh Allen the next king of the AFC East, which it's trending that way with you Puma right now, and I have a bone to pick with that.
When did I say that?
Look, no, I'm not saying you said it. I'm not saying you said it.
You're kind of implying, Burge.
Brennan, you're kind of alluding that Josh Allen is essentially in the same category as Patrick Mahomes. And the way I see it, he's not even close.
By saying he's playing at an MVP level?
He's not even close, man. Like, at the end of the day, the guy, he's playing, great against some pretty shitty teams. He's lost against teams like, the Kansas City Chiefs, which he really needed to beat.
Tennessee Titans got blown out.
Tennessee Titans. What I need to see from Josh Allen is get to the playoffs, win a couple games. If we're going to pick on Lamar Jackson and say, hey, man, why don't you win a game before we give you all this love and adulation, we're going to do the same exact thing for Josh Allen as well. And the one thing that I'm sick and tired of hearing over and over again is this stat that people throw out there. Oh, he's worked with Jordan Palmer and he's increased his percentage by 17 points. Well, when you throw 50% to start with, you're 13 points below the average of the league. You were so bad that all you can do is go up from there. So don't give me that bullshit that he's completely become a new player. He's just not as bad as he was his first couple years. Win a couple games in the playoffs, beat Patrick Mahomes, then I'll give you your love. I'll be more than happy to come on here. And say Josh Allen, he's the next great quarterback if he beats Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, but he is not going to. He'll probably be a one and done in the playoffs.
Okay. Well, one, we're early preview. I have the Buffalo Bills going to the Super Bowl. But two, you can't look at side-by-side comparisons of his rookie year in 2018 and now and look at the mechanics that have changed. Look at the footwork that has changed. He's no longer a one-read quarterback. He's actually looking at all aspects of the field and just say, when you're only completing 50% of your passes, all you can do is go from up. I mean, look at Cam Newton throughout his entire career. He's been in the league for what now? Like 8 seasons, and he's sub 60%, like low 60s. Josh Allen is at 68.
He's won nothing.
And he's
won nothing.
And I'm not saying I'm not anointing him as a great quarterback. I'm not saying that he is in the stratosphere of Patrick Mahomes right now. I've said this until I was blue in the face offline last night with you guys that he is about to be extended. He is going to still be part of this regime. They are going to figure out a way to move the cap because look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They're signing people with funny money essentially, and they're only 22nd against the cap next year. With all of this money that Patrick Mahomes is going to be getting, and even over the next 2 or 3 years, they'll still be middle of the pack while they extend Tyreek Hill and Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce got extended this year as well too. They're all going to be on the books for more than 3 years. Josh Allen's going to be on the books for a while. Tre'Davious
Brian
White
Dable
got
isn't
extended. Yeah, and you know what? And you know what, Burge? Brian Dable is putting him in positions to succeed by calling the offense. But you also have to look at this, too. Brian Dable was his offensive coordinator his rookie year. So these two guys have been intertwined. Dable has adapted on the fly, putting this guy in positions to succeed every single season. And the work that he's done with his mechanics to clean everything up, you can't deny that. I get it. Oh, you can only go up from here. But 17% increase from rookie year, 11% increase from last year. Those numbers are unheard of. Like you
It should-
have to.
it-
You're
you
gonna
have to
see-
admit-
you're gonna
been
see-
It should have been a 7% increase if you're at league average at 63%. It's a passing league. You can't even get to league average. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, and look at the rookie, and look at his rookie year, Jake. Who was he throwing to? Zay Jones, who wasn't there, who was billed as a wide receiver one prototype that got traded to the Vegas Raiders because he didn't pan out. They cut bait on that guy real quick. They brought in Stephon Diggs last year, who was labeled as a diva wide receiver. Cole Beasley signing made him a more complete quarterback by making him look at the underneath routes. John Brown and him, the numbers when John Brown is actually in this,
He's
going to
get cut
well too. John Brown is going to be on this team next year. Like his contract, I think, is 4 years, and I think what was it, like $70 million or something like that. He signed it last year. He's going to be going into year 3 next season. He's not going anywhere. And his numbers with John Brown are astonishing as well, too. Like, they have a great connection as well. And the Dawson Knox drafting of a tight end that's a bruiser is helping the cause as well, too. Like, this guy...
Yeah, he likes to push off.
Oh, here we go. You know what? If you're just going to cry about your bet slip with the Denver Broncos when I told you to take the Buffalo Bills minus the 6 points, then, all right, Bollier, I don't know what to tell you. But all I'm saying is this guy in this defense as a whole, which has been clicking since Matt Milano came off of injured reserve, Tremaine Edmonds came off of the injured list as well too. They had that bye week. Even Josh Norman, who was a joke and a shell of himself in Washington last year, he's been improving his game, especially since the bye week. This defense is getting hot at the right time going into the playoffs. And Kansas City, we're going to get to these guys in the playoff prediction. They had no business letting the New Orleans Saints back into the game last week. This team only cares about and focuses when they're actually down, and I think they are primed for an upset, and I think Buffalo can win that game. Like, they almost won week 4 if it wasn't couple of different spots. They didn't convert a couple of third downs, but they shut down that passing attack. That was one of the very few games where Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually balled out on the ground. They made him run the football, but they contained the passing attack. I think Tyreek Hill only ended up with like 50 receiving yards that game. This defense is clicking on all cylinders. Give me the Buffalo Bills to the Super Bowl. Anything else I've got is just hate at this point.
Look. I see the same thing happening to Josh Allen without his offensive coordinator that happened to Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. All right. A year ago, we were talking about the potential that Carson Wentz at the start of the season was a early MVP candidate going into the season. Like they said, he was going to take the next step. He was gonna win the MVP, and he was gonna go there. Now, granted, he's had some injuries, affect him throughout his career. I mean, obviously, in 2017 when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, he blew out his knee. But you saw the decline in Carson Wentz right now with the Philadelphia Eagles, and you can make the argument that he has nobody to throw to, and all this and that. But it's more than that. He's turning the ball over like crazy, and he's missing your man crush in your second man crush, I should say, in Frank Reich. He's missing him dearly there in Philly.
He's missing Frank Reich too.
Probably, but I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's also getting older at this point. He's been dinged up every year, for the past couple of years. So, I see it. I see the writing on the wall with him. Another prime guy that performs extremely well with the current system he has. When something changes, it's going to decline. And I see it. I see the writing on the wall with Josh Allen. And I had a buddy come to me today saying, or not today, after the Broncos game on Saturday, that the Buffalo Bills are going to win the next 10 AFC East titles. I laughed at him. I'm
not going that far. Like, that is a bridge too far right now.
And look, my pure hate for the Buffalo Bills, doesn't stem from the play on the field. Like, they're balling out right now. Like, I didn't think that they were going to come out and blow the Broncos out the way they did. The start of that second half, scoring 14 points in 17 seconds. One on offense, one on defense. They're balling out right now, and I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I'm not so blinded by the hate that I'm not going to say that the Buffalo Bills are playing very good football right now.
Yeah,
but their fans are absolute a-holes.
Well, that's a different story. But
and that's where I get to the hate. That's where my hate fuels from. That's where my hate fuels from.
for me, it's not even that. Like, we all agree that the Buffalo Bills are playing good football, and they were playing good football last year as well. I just can't get over his collapse that Josh Allen had. Well, actually, the whole team had down in
the
Houston.
Whole team, like that, like
that
Leslie Frazier
that,
short-circuited.
That face that I saw on Josh Allen when he was sitting on the bench, it was during the headlights. It was frozen. The only time I saw that face again was back in like 2011 when LeBron James melted down against the Dallas Mavericks his first year in Miami. Same exact face, and sometimes you can just tell somebody's a gamer and somebody's not a gamer. And I'm just getting this feeling from Josh Allen. This is all well and fine. He's on a great team right now. He's rolling, top of the world. But let somebody punch him in the mouth in the playoffs, and I want to see where his response is. And the way I see Josh Allen is the way I see Baker Mayfield. Two guys that are hot as hell right now because they're insulated with great coaching staffs and great teams. But I do think in the playoffs, both teams will want it done unless they play each other, which is a different situation for a different day. But I don't see any difference between Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield minus a little better stats.
Okay. Oh, all right. Whatever. I get it. Like, I don't even know how to dignify that with the response. Like,
was it because there's too much
Jay,
truth
like, Jay, because like you're the guy that was ready to write the Baker Mayfield obituary a la Colin Cowherd style week 4
Adam
and
Jones
all of
Jr.
last year, and Adam Jones Jr. for that aspect as well too. And you look at what they've done; they've actually played to what Baker Mayfield's strength is, which is off of play action, on bootlegs, getting the guy mobile. That is what the NFL is nowadays. You've said it yourself, and why you couldn't, I wouldn't say like understand or wrap your head around like why the Bengals would possibly go after a Joe Burrow type who is the last pocket passer in the NFL, when you could have gotten somebody like a Tua or a Justin Herbert, which Mike Brown was a fan of in the draft, but the coaching staff wanted Joe Burrow. He was the pick. But that's what the modern NFL is too, is to be mobile, and these two guys are thriving in that environment right now, and both defenses are clicking at the right time. They have a decent run game. Cleveland has a better backfield than Buffalo. I'll give you that.
It's not close.
Especially Devin Singletary and Zach Moss having, the cases of the dropsies with the fumbles. But I mean, they can lean on that run game if they wanted to as well. Like, that is a personnel decision where they're surrounding the quarterback with the tools to succeed. Like, I mean, if you had this in New England, like, you guys wouldn't be complaining at all if they had something like this on the outside at the tight end position and able to build around a quarterback to succeed, which clearly New England has not done this season. And they're, maybe they can do it next year. But this is what the NFL is nowadays. Like, this is what it is.
See, I don't think Buffalo can truly run the ball unless they're playing against a bad run defense. They've showed it all year this year. Their best game was against New England. And obviously New England has a terrible run defense.
Yeah,
So
Denver's not bottom league. I'm pulling up the stats right now. Let me find this for you. I mean,
look,
if they're not middle of the, I would be shocked if they were middle of the pack at best on the defensive side of the football.
I don't know. They had a good day running the ball. I guess they ran. What did they run for? Like almost 190 yards because Singletary had some big runs there.
Yeah,
but
Singletary had like a 50-yard run to basically break their back in the I think it was the third quarter. I mean, at that point the game was already out of hand. But like Zach Moss is able to run the football. Devin Singletary, we saw him run the football last year too, and we're gonna be there's gonna be a home game in Buffalo in the wintertime in January. Like, you can grind the defense down.
Denver is the fifth worst rush defense in the league this year. They've given up the fifth most yards on the ground this year, behind Dallas, Houston, Jacksonville, and Detroit.
Well, speaking of the playoffs, Puma, let's transition into that. I want to talk about the playoff picture and where the Bills land. So in the AFC, we've got the Chiefs at 13-1. They're going to be the number 1 seed. The way it's going to pan out. At number 2, you got the Bills at 11-13. You got the Steelers at number 3, 11-13. The Titans
11-3.
11. I'm sorry, 11-3. 11-3. The Titans at the number 4 spot, 10-4. The Colts 10-4 at the 5th spot. The Browns 10-4 at the 6th spot, and then the Dolphins are at 9-5, getting that last wild card spot. They'll beat out the Ravens at the moment because they own the conference record tiebreaker over the Ravens. The first two teams looking in, Ravens at 9-5, and the Raiders at 7-7. So Puma, you are on the Bills bandwagon. You're essentially saying these guys are going to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah, and I mean it's not. I mean, hell, Jay, like. I was on here last year saying that I like the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. I like the Buffalo Bills now. This isn't breaking news. Like, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Early prediction was Steelers-Cardinals in the Super Bowl, and God, the Steelers are so bad.
Steelers got some issues.
I mean, like, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, like, not even just from a betting perspective, which I think they are 0-5 over the last five weeks against the spread. Like, they haven't covered. They had no reason to let the New Orleans Saints back into that game on Sunday in the Superdome without a Michael Thomas on the field. Alvin Kamara was kind of carrying the weight. The ghost of Jared Cook was carrying the weight. The defense was doing their job against a Kansas City offense. But like this Chiefs team has been bad at times. Like, you can even look at the Denver game where the Broncos just kept everything in front of them, and this team, the Kansas City Chiefs, like, I think they're 21st in red zone offense. Like, that offense, for all of its vertical prowess, kind of turtles up in the red zone. And if teams are able to do what Denver did and have them trade touchdowns for field goals, yeah, that's going to be a key to success. And the Buffalo Bills, they can play at tempo. They can throw the ball all over the place at will. The Chiefs' defense is not looked like the defense of last year. And I think right now the Kansas City Chiefs are primed for an upset. There's nothing on tape from the Kansas City Chiefs right now that shows me otherwise, that they are ready to just take the throne again and win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Look, I think that the Chiefs do have their vulnerabilities in this, and just going to the Super Bowl predictions, I'm not changing mine from last week. I'm sticking with the Packers and the Chiefs playing in the Super Bowl in February. But looking at both conferences going into this, I'm not gonna fade the Chiefs at all. I mean, what they did last year, coming back from behind in all of their games in the playoffs and winning in pretty decisive fashion. I'm not going to fade them at all, but you look at the AFC, any of those teams that are in the playoff picture right now, I can see winning on any given Sunday. And it's, Jay and I have talked about this off air too. When it comes to it, I said I want to dabble in the sports book and gambling the rest of this season. In the playoffs, it's going to be very tough for me to pick, who I want to win or who I think is going to win, because I think any Sunday, any of these teams that are in there could come out and win a game. And I think it's the same, if not more prevalent, in the NFC.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And in the AFC, for me, I think the Chiefs are just so much better than the rest of the NFL. I know they haven't covered the spread, which doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things when you get wins and losses. That's what really matters. And I think the Chiefs, at the end of the day, like, I don't see the Bills being able to go into Arrowhead and outmatch Patrick Mahomes on offense. No way I'll take Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes. Steelers, they've got their issues, man. They just lost to the Bengals last night, which I could not believe. The Titans and Colts, I don't think they got the firepower to keep up with the Chiefs. So I really believe it's the Chiefs out of the AFC and nobody else, really. So moving on to the NFC, though, this is where it gets very dicey, because the NFC seems to be wide open, man. Like, you can't really, week by week, it gets more complicated. At the number 1 seed at the moment, you got the Packers at 11-3. You've got the Saints at the number 2 seed at 10-4. Seahawks at 10-4 in the number 3 seed, number 4 seed Washington at 6-8. But at this point, it seems like anybody in the NFC can still get back into it. Whether it's the Eagles, Cowboys, maybe not the Giants, but maybe they might be mathematically still in it as well. Number 5, so you got the Rams at 9-5 because they got the tiebreaker over the Buccaneers. Number 6 Buccaneers at 9-5, and number 7 Cardinals 8-6. And then you've got the two teams looking outside in, Bears and Vikings. So who do you guys got coming out of the NFC East? And this is so much tougher than the AFC.
I mean,
I'm sticking with the Packers.
I'll stick with the Cardinals. I mean, I watched that game on Saturday, and this has been a theme for the Green Bay Packers defense all year, is they can't close a game out. And they let a Carolina Panther team that was down Christian McCaffrey, that DJ Moore, this is his first game back off of the COVID list, in Lambeau, and they let this team back in. And you can go back throughout the rest of the games this season. Hell, you can even look at the Eagles game a couple of weeks ago where Jalen Hurts was almost like the gif of the Undertaker kicking out of the casket. You can't. It's all well and good, I guess, to do that in the regular season, but you can't do that in the playoffs. And there's nothing. I haven't seen anything on this defensive side of the football that would inspire any confidence. And if you have a pass rush, I mean, we saw this. What was it, Jay? Week 6 or 7 when Tampa Bay played Green Bay in Tampa, and they shut down that offense, and they just kept pressuring. They kept pressuring Aaron Rodgers, and they shut that team. They shut that offense down after the first touchdown and the half-assed McCringleberry touchdown celebration that was too early. If you put pressure on this guy, this offense is going to fold a bit, and I just don't have any confidence in that defense. Kyler Murray, I said this all year, they're going to have to be road warriors in the playoffs. The shoulder seems to be coming around a little bit more. I still like Arizona to make some noise in the playoffs and punch their ticket to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I still have the Saints coming out of the NFC, man. They had a thrilling game against the Kansas City Chiefs the other night. They were in the beginning. They went down by 14, came back into it. So I do think that the Saints and the Chiefs are going to end up in the Super Bowl, and I think that's going to be a great matchup. And I'll take Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs at that point. But let's move on from the playoff picture. Let's talk about a subject that is near and dear to all of our hearts, minus Puma. But let's talk about the New England Patriots in their loss 22-12 to the Miami Dolphins and being eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2009. So Burge, what are some of your initial thoughts with the Patriots being eliminated from playoff contention?
Well, it's a sad day. Let's be honest. It was a great run making the playoffs for the last 12 years. Going into the game, I had some confidence that they were, going to be able to do what they needed to do to win the game defensively and do enough offensively to basically put them over the top and beat this Miami Dolphins team as they did in Week 1. Watching the game, it was extremely frustrating. I mean, how can you stick with the leader of your offense after 9 quarters of not scoring a touchdown? I don't know. I mean, that's a discussion that we can have about about the coaching staff, Mr. Belichick here. But it more or less it gave me some closure going into this, because there was a very outside chance that this team was going to actually sneak into the playoffs.
Oh, I'm so glad that path is dead, man.
And it gives me a little bit of peace that the path is dead, as much as I wanted to get it back into the playoffs and see them play an extra week, because there was no chance that this team was going to win a playoff game, no matter who they played. But I would have loved to have seen what Jarrett Stidham had in this game going into Miami and maybe give them a shot to get in the playoffs. But hopefully this was the obituary for Cam Newton in New England going into this game. I mean, it's just, I don't know how you can go up and throw 45 points on a team that, granted, their coaching staff is terrible in the Los Angeles Chargers, and then come back and respond with that, with not being able to score a touchdown in 2 straight games. It's frustrating. It sucks, but it is what it is, and it's time to move forward, and I'm happy that Bill Belichick is at the helm moving forward.
So Puma, this is one of the rare occasions where the Patriots segment actually involves you as well. What'd you see from your Dolphins, and what did you see from the Patriots, or lack thereof?
I mean, the Dolphins side of the football, we put up points in spite of a running game.
Before you get to that, Puma, the one thing I want to say here is Miami did not play that well either. Like Miami made some
No,
pretty grave
absolutely
mistakes,
not.
and
Like,
and it sucked because I watched that game and I knew an old Patriots team would have steamrolled that Dolphins team. Like we're talking like 40-point steamroll, it just sucks that we're at this point now. But I'm sorry, go ahead, man.
no, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, for as much as I railed, on my team, and listen, like, I'm a Dolphins fan. Like, don't get it twisted because Brandon has respect for the Buffalo Bills, but like at the end of the day, I can step back and take a look and an objective look at my team and realize what I have. We have not had a running game all season long, and that even included last year when your leading rusher was Ryan Fitzpatrick, who led the team with 200 rushing yards throughout the entire span of the season. And the Salvin Ahmed, like he ran for what was it, like 120 yards on Sunday. Total, the Dolphins ran for what was it, like 100? What was it, 250?
250.
250. Like
three touchdowns.
250.
I mean, we haven't done 250 yards over the last 3 years. Like, and we did that this weekend. But I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, he was kind of a pedestrian along for the ride in this game. He ended up with, what the hell was his stat line?
145 yards.
Yeah, 20-26, 145 yards, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But I mean, no Jakeem Grant, no Devontae Parker, no Mike Gesicki, and this team still does not have an offensive identity, and it's mildly horrifying that they are the last wild card team, and I don't know what I'm going to get on the offensive side of the football. Like, this has all been on the defense and the secondary, and defense is if we don't have a pass rush, this secondary is average, and I'm kind of amazed they put up that many points in the Pats, and I'm saying that also as a bettor that had the New England Patriots as part of a teaser leg, and maybe if Bill Belichick kicked the field goal, I would have been in a little bit of better shape. But what New England has right now, we were talking about this offline yesterday. I think Cam Newton's going to be back at one Patriot place. I think he's going to be back. His stock has not been any lower. Bill's going to get him on a super cheap deal because you're also going to have Cam Newton that's going to want to, air quote, prove all the doubters wrong, a la look at his Instagram post last
He wanted to do that this year too.
Through hieroglyphics. But you look at that, you can get him on the cheap. You're going to have mostly opt-outs coming back. You're going to have a bunch of cap space. Julian Edelman, you got to find a replacement receiver because he's going to be a salary cap casualty in the offseason. And with the salary cap being predicted to be lower this year over last year because of the lack of fan attendance, you're going to have teams that are going to have to cut really decent veteran talent that actually aren't on the tail end of their career, and they could build around that, get him on the cheap, get these opt-outs back. They might be able to make a few rumblings again in the AFC playoff picture next year. But definitely what I think, Newton's back. You take a defensive end or a linebacker in the first round of the draft this year, and you build through free agency. Like that's what's going to have to happen at this point.
Well, so Bill Belichick had his presser a couple days ago. I think yesterday actually. And he was very vague. He kind of at one point hinted maybe that Stidham could see some playing time. Then he kind of walked it back. So don't really know what's going to happen. But I think in the next 2 weeks, I think we will see by Bill Belichick's actions if Cam Newton is going to be back or not. Because I think it makes no sense to send Cam Newton out there if he's not starting next year, right? So essentially, if you send out Jarrett Stidham as a starting quarterback, he plays great, then there's no way you can bring Cam Newton back, right? So I think to negate all of that, we'll see what happens if Cam Newton starts for both of the games ending this year, and if that's the case, then he could be back next year. Now, in regards to the game and what I saw, man, it's just more the same shit. I'm so ready for this year to be over with. We got 2 more games against the Bills and the Jets, and we'll preview the Bills game here soon very quickly. But it's just been a shit year. I'm down. I'm beaten, man. Like, I want this thing to end. It's another game where you score no touchdowns. That's 9 quarters now where you haven't scored a touchdown. The run defense in itself was absolutely horrid. It's been really bad the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Los Angeles Rams absolutely gashed us. And I thought we were actually, that was one of our strengths. I mean, in certain games this year, they were able to stop the running attack. But then again, the biggest frustration for me is, man, like, this is not what we've been used to seeing in the grand scheme of things with the record. But even the little stuff, like, it's not what I'm used to seeing as well, right? Usually a team gets better, a Patriots team gets better as the year goes on. This team seems to be getting worse as the year goes on. I'm not used to that either, right? So I don't know, man. I'm just frustrated. I want the season to be over with. Looking forward to the rebuilding process, which you guys have a lot more faith in Belichick than I do. But it's just sad. It's just sad all the way around, man.
No, it really is. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to go through it, but I mean, let's be honest, Jay. We were due for this. 12 years of playoffs, and up until last year, what was it, 10 straight or 8 or 9 straight AFC Championship games? I mean, we were spoiled going into this, and there's nobody right now that I would rather have at the helm coaching. Yeah. This team through a rebuild over the next couple of years in Bill Belichick. It sucks, and going back to what you said about whether Cam Newton plays or not the rest of the way here, I think that if he plays one of the games, I think there's a strong chance he's back. I mean, you have to give Stidham a look at this point. Maybe you give him the Jets. It's a game that you're playing a bad team. Maybe you're not putting him in a position where he's gonna severely flop against the Buffalo Bills, who are playing great football right now, as we have well established on this podcast already. But you got to take some positives out of this year. And let me ask you, what position group do you think was the strongest for the Patriots this year? And looking at it, there's been times where the secondary has looked like shit and played well. There's been times where the front seven has played great and looked like shit. Offense, I can't point to anything. The fact that special teams might be our best group this year, like our kicker and punter might be our best group this year. Like, what is the positive out of that? No, I'm not gonna pick a unit. The special teams has been absolutely elite this year. That has been the story of the Patriots season this year. I mean, they're able to flip field position better than any team in the league with Jake Bailey and Matt Slater running down there, Justin Bethel, being able to down the ball within the 5. I couldn't tell you without looking at it, but it seems like they were consistently doing that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, for that matter. And Nick Folk has been a decent surprise this year. Nailing all those field goals when the offense stalled, which happened quite a bit. I personally didn't expect that going into the season. With them drafting a 5th round kicker, but that's a story for another day. But look, I like what some of the young guys on this team have done this year. Specifically, Damian Harris has been a huge bright spot when he's been healthy. Yes, I know, Jay, you think health is a big thing with talent evaluation in the NFL. But when Damian Harris is healthy, he is a beast in that backfield. You got J.C. Jackson with 8 interceptions in the secondary. He's been huge.
He should have been in the Pro Bowl.
Agreed. You have Kyle Duggar flying around out there who's come on lately. Looked great. Josh Uche has looked great when he's been out there. Chase Winovich has taken a step forward. You got some good young pieces moving forward for this team. Specifically on the defensive side of the ball outside of Damian Harris. That you can really build off of, and that's why I'm excited for this offseason. I'm excited to see what they do with the cap space. I really hope they don't trade out of the first round because I'm going to be absolutely livid if they do that again this year when they really need to take, I agree with you on this, Puma, a linebacker or a defensive end. I prefer the linebacker at this point. A nice stud middle linebacker to kind of command that defense going forward. It's like I said, it sucks right in the obituary in December for this team. I mean, it was a nice run. They got derailed early. The obit
was written after that San Francisco 49ers loss. Mathematically we're out of it now, but you can tell when your team is not good, and some people choose to have the faith like you do, which is great, great quality.
Here we go.
But when you're a realist like me and you see it for what it is, this team was not getting better at any facet of continually getting better, man. Like the offense, it's so much worse than it was from week 1, which I don't understand how that's possible. It's not like injuries have ravaged us, you know. And then on top of that, even defense, man, like I'm just so disheartened by the last 2 weeks of seeing, you know, the Rams and the Dolphins who can't run the fucking ball. The Dolphins cannot run the ball, yet they were able to put 250 yards. Like back-to-back weeks, they've been gashed, right? And that's just disheartening for me.
Let's be honest. The run defense really wasn't a strength of this team all year. I mean, it was inconsistent, and there were plenty of games when they got completely gashed. And what's more disheartening for me is the inconsistent play of you know, what was talked to us as the strength of this defense, and that's the secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, they sucked against the Jets, and then they come out and they have great games. You know, they did great shutting down the Chiefs early on. You know, that to me is more disheartening than the run defense, because I knew the run defense was going to be a problem this year when they were carrying, one or two linebackers on the team. You know, you play the nickel defense all year, and, you know, you don't have the big guys up front to stop the ball, and you're relying on, like, undrafted players like Terez Hall to come in and, you know, make plays, and you're relying on Adrian Phillips to, you know, kind of fill that hybrid safety linebacker role all year. It was that part of it was doomed to happen, and I think a lot of what, especially against the Rams, they were going to let them run the ball. You know, that's how Bill's always been coaching against his team. We're going to let you do something, and we're going to take away what we feel is your strength. And clearly a couple weeks ago against the Rams, they felt that the passing game was the strength with Woods and Kupp and, you know, Goff throwing the ball, and they were going to say, you know what, you guys haven't run the ball all year. You know what, we're going to dare you to run it, and we're going to let you run it, and hope that our defense can stop it enough and our offense can put up the points. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Well, listen, I've resorted to calling Bill Belichick the fake genius, right? Because the guy, all the information that we have on Bill Belichick is that, you know, he has won with Tom Brady and he has done nothing else besides that, right? The guy was 36-44, wherever the stat was before Tom Brady. Even if you take into account the year he had in 08 and the 4 games that Brady wasn't there, and this year, it's like still like 52-56 is the total record of Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. But what I'm trying to get at is a lot of people have optimism that Bill Belichick will be able to turn this around. I don't, because the last time we had a rebuild like this, a down-to-the-studs rebuild, was after that 08 season, right? And it took us until 2014 to get to that point where we can win a Super Bowl again. That was 6 years later. We made that 2011 Super Bowl, but that secondary was absolutely horrendous. I still don't know how that 2011 team made it to the Super Bowl, and that's just the greatness of Brady, but from 08 until 2014 is when we finally got back to the Super Bowl. Do we have 6 years for Bill Belichick to rebuild this team? I mean, we might not have 3 at the rate this is going.
Look, he is not a fake genius. He is the
Hashtag
goat
fake genius.
of. He is the goat of coaches, and you cannot dispute that. Yes, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were the absolute perfect match. All right. They found him, and they worked together, and they made it work for 20 years. That has never happened in the game of football in the history of the NFL. Look, you got to understand, all right, the NFL, right, the way it's built, the success that the Patriots have had is not sustainable unless you have that match. And obviously there's a time frame on that match because the quarterback gets older, and then you have to reset it. And you can't go as far to call Bill Belichick a fake genius.
I'll do it again. Hashtag fake genius.
14 games after Brady has left. All right? We saw the writing on the wall last year with the receiving core and everything. Brady saw it. That's why he left. All right? Look.
But the next point of that argument is why we're in that position. Because Bill Belichick is the GM.
Can't draft. He can't draft.
Well, then how is he the greatest of all time if half of his job he's shit at? Like, I don't understand why people will quantify and make all kinds of excuses for Belichick.
But
why is he?
Because let me finish. Because his coaching is so great. But the other 50% of the job he's shit at. But it's okay. It's okay. It's Belichick.
Yeah, but now we're trying to move the goalposts.
What pisses me off the most is every single day for the last 20 years, every single player had to earn his position and his keep on that team. Tom Brady every single day had to go out there and win the quarterback job. But for Bill Belichick, we're like, you know what? Half of his job he sucks at. But you know what? The other half he's fine at. So let's just make these excuses for him and keep it rolling.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. He's the greatest coach of all time. No one. I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing the fact that he's sucked drafting the last 4 or 5 years, and that's the reason we're in the state that we're in.
So then where does the optimism come from? If for the last 5 years he's just so bad, then where does the optimism come from that he's going to turn this around? Because last time it took him 6 years. It wasn't until 14 where we won a Super Bowl again.
Yeah, but if you look at, I mean, listen, this is all in like
three to get to one.
This is in the world of like memes, but like for the longest time it was always a meme, but like the truth is always somewhere in the middle where Belichick and Brady, they can take a bagger from Demula's or Shaw's and put this person into their offense or defense and make them a Hall of Fame player. Like that's what everybody's leaned on that.
No, that just pisses me off because it wasn't Belichick and Brady. It was Brady that could do that. Because
so Belichick is coaching the defense too?
Because now I thought we could just plug somebody into that offense this year.
Yeah, but you can go back and Jay.
I was buying the Kool-Aid that we can win 10 games
Super Bowls too. You can look at some of the Super Bowls too, a la the Rams Patriots one, where that was strictly a defensive type of a Super Bowl win right there. Like that is Belichick's bread and butter. Like it is safe to say that these two, the yin and the yang for all of their little peccadillos, were a match made in heaven. And to Burgess' point, like you don't see this that often ever in the NFL for that fact, because you're never going to find a quarterback besides Brady that is willing to take a pay cut year in and year out and stay with that franchise and you know have them build around on the defensive side of the football, or you know like that time when they started rebuilding. What was it? 08, whenever Randy Moss came in, where Bill finally came in and said, damn the torpedoes, we're going to trade for Randy Moss, we're going to bring him in, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other thing. And, you know, I don't think anybody in New England is going to trade in the last 20 years because of 16 games right now. There's not going to be one person that is going to just start writing the obituary for Bill Belichick. Like, This was just a bad year. This is a shoulder year at this point. Like I said, Cam Newton's going to come back, or hell, you can have Cam Newton, or if he lays an egg and they roll with Stidham, you go with Stidham next year. You bring in a couple of free agent quarterbacks. You could draft a quarterback at 15 if you really wanted to, and rebuild through free agency like they did with the Randy Moss years. Like that's not beyond the realm of possibility here.
Listen,
I'm saying that Bill Belichick's the greatest head coach of all time. And Don Shula is one of the greatest head coaches of all time.
You have to give Bill Belichick here 3 years, including this year. You have to give him 3 years, maybe 4, because of all the extenuating circumstances that came across the NFL in 2020. COVID, no fans in the stands. That all plays into it. That all plays into how they went.
Truncated offseason. You can't have it.
Exactly.
You can't install an offense with a new quarterback through Zoom meetings.
Agreed.
I do Zoom meetings all day, and I can barely focus. And I'm talking about aviation for Christ's sake. You're gonna try to learn through a base offense or a timing based offense with Josh McDaniels.
You can't write the obituary yet.
I would agree if Cam Newton didn't look so bad. If Cam Newton didn't know what play to call, where the protection was coming from, with mental errors, fine. But the fact that Cam Newton can't even get the ball to his receiver, that's what frustrates me the most. Like at some point,
how's that Bill's fault?
Who's starting him? Who is starting Cam Newton? We've been talking about this for 4 weeks now.
Is Stidham ready yet? That's the question. They obviously saw something in Stidham that they don't want him to go.
Well, then the other question past that is, if Stidham isn't ready, then how much of a colossal failure has the quarterback position been this year for Bill Belichick? Because you can't have it all the way you want it to be, man.
I'm not disagreeing with you. The quarterback position has been a colossal failure this year. The Cam Newton experiment failed. It failed. All right, but you have to take into account everything. When was Cam Newton signed? It was like in July, wasn't it? End of June, July. He signed
like 3 weeks before training camp.
Training camp didn't even really happen.
But
there was no preseason.
You guys are missing my point. My point is,
well, we're also forgetting the fact that they led the league in opt-outs.
Exactly. So like you can't blame Bill Belichick for that.
Now I can't even blame Bill Belichick for having a quarterback that he starts for 16, 17 weeks straight that he knows is probably costing him games, but he's not going to try to make a move off of that.
Yeah, but the defense is costing games too.
I'm not saying that you can't criticize him. I'm not saying that you can't be upset that he didn't play Stidham earlier. I'm one of those people that said Play Stidham. Let's go. Stop being arrogant and
all
play
it
him.
is
But
is
that's
that
what Bill Belichick
it's
is.
never Belichick's fault. It's everybody else's fault.
No,
he
no.
always makes the rules.
No.
He's the one that, essentially, I'll do what's best for the team, but I'll define what's best for that team, essentially. Like, there's nobody keeping Belichick in check here. And this is a failure on Robert Kraft's part as well, where he's let this ego and this egomania kind of balloon out of control now. And now he's had this Patriots organization at hostage now. I mean, I absolutely...
I was going to say, like, the polar opposite of that is you have Jerry Jones. Like, you have an owner that meddles too much in business and personnel decisions. And really, the one time that he wielded the big stick was when they traded Jimmy Garoppolo, which is an episode for another day. But, this whole trio, like Kraft, Belichick, Brady, like, this is something not just in football. Like, you don't see that in any other type of sport. Like,
Agreed.
I think the closest you're going to get is you're going to get the Chicago Bull years with fucking Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, and I guess who the hell's that guy's name? The cheapest owner in NBA history at that point. And then maybe the Boston Celtics with Red Auerbach and just being the general manager and the head coach at the same time. Like, you don't see this throughout any other facet of sports. Like, this was lightning in a bottle at this point for this franchise. And, Jay, you're right. Like, Belichick does deserve blame. Absolutely. And I'm saying this as a guy without a dog in a fight. I'm saying that Belichick deserves blame. But you also can't ignore the extenuating circumstances of led the league in opt-outs. No offseason. Offense is based on timing and precision routing, and Cam Newton, the 1 year where he had a good season for completion percentage was the 1 year where he played under Norv Turner. The lack of skill position. Again, that goes back to Bill Belichick as the general manager, but they've never really addressed the offense in free agency, and that's why Brady split. It was probably for the best for everybody.
Agreed.
Again,
100% agree.
Shoulder season. As a guy, division rival, I'm sitting here on December 22nd with the expectation that this team is going to rebuild in free agency because they have a bunch of cap space, and this is probably going to be a damn the torpedoes 2.0 a la the Randy Moss years.
Well, let's move on to the Bills-Patriots preview real quick before we jump into the other four games. But, you've got the Bills coming in to New England. The Bills actually put up a fan billboard right down the street from Patriot
Why
Place.
I hate their fans.
So how do you guys see this game playing out on Monday Night Football?
Lay the points. Lay the 6. Like, we haven't seen enough from this New England Patriot team. I get it. At the beginning of the year, this game went down to the wire, and it was a Cam Newton fumble that kind of was the turning point in the game. But with what the Buffalo Bills defense is doing right now, they're gelling on all fronts. Josh Allen's grooving. The Stephon Diggs Allen connection is unreal at this point. And lay the points, lay the 6.
Bird, what you got?
I'm going to go with the Bills in this game. I got no faith that the Patriots are going to win anything here. I mean, I'd love to see what Jarrett Stidham has to do against a legit team, but who knows if we're going to get that. Maybe they look completely different. But to your point, Jay, I think you and Puma talked about this on your ride to New Jersey, but I think Bill Belichick might be getting a little happy feet to see if Stidham comes out here and performs well, that he may have made the wrong decision early on. I can't pick against the Buffalo Bills are rolling right now. As much as it kills me to pick against my heart in this game, I think the Bills are going to win. I mean, I like to think that the Patriots defense is going to slow down the Bills offense in this game. I just don't think the offense can do enough to score any points, as proven in the last couple of weeks.
Well, it all depends on which defense shows up for the Patriots, right? Is it going to be, we can't really rely on this defense on a week-to-week basis. If it's going to be that defense that showed up against the Rams or the Miami Dolphins, then it's going to be an ugly, brutal slaughterhouse. But, I do think at the end of the day, the defense is going to show up and provide a little bit of resistance. They're going to keep it close for about a quarter and a half, let the pride talk, and then eventually it's going to be a 10-point victory for the Bills. So this is actually going to be my ticket to the bank. I'm going to take it to the bank with the Buffalo Bills money line over the New England Patriots, and it sucks to say that, but at this point it seems like an easy bet. And let's move on to the Week 16 previews. We've got the 9-5 Miami Dolphins against the 7-7 Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams are playing for a playoff position. Puma, who you got to win this game?
I mean, God, as much as I've said the Dolphins haven't had an offensive identity, I like this defense a little bit more against the Las Vegas Raiders offense. Granted, we don't know who's going to be at quarterback. Derek Carr had a pretty bad groin injury. He's trying to come back and play. By all accounts from any medical expert, the kind of pull that he had, it's a 10-day kind of recovery window. He's going to be right on the edge. But Marcus Mariota looked great against the Chargers. But I have the Dolphins winning this game. Hopefully, Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker come back, but they both had kind of soft tissue injuries. That's what's hampered them, and I mean that's what hampered Devontae Parker throughout his entire career, his hamstring issues. But this defense has been great at times if they're able to establish the pass rush. I think they may have a little bit of an uphill battle, especially against Trent Brown, the former Patriot, on the offensive line, I should say, for the Las Vegas Raiders. But I mean, if you take away Darren Waller from this offense for the Raiders, you're left with, Nelson Aguilar, who had a case of the dropsies on Thursday versus the Chargers, and then maybe, Henry Ruggs takes the top off of defense one time. But I have faith in the Dolphins in this game. Dolphins are favored by 2.5 as of recording December 22nd. The over-under's at 48. I kind of like the under this game, but I'm laying the points with the Dolphins at 2.5.
Yeah, listen, man, I think I'm going to take the Dolphins to win this game as well. I think there's a lot going on in Raiderland that I don't like, man. Marcus Mariota is going to be starting just because I think the groin injury is pretty severe for Derek Carr. He might not come back for the rest of the year, depending on how severe it is. But I think the Raiders are trending downward, man. They just can't seem to get out of their way over the last few weeks. At one point, this team was hot, right? They were 6-2 at one point, Puma, right? If I have it correct.
Oh, yeah. I had them as a dark horse playoff team.
Mm-hmm. And now it looks like they're just limping to the playoffs. So, listen, that defense is absolutely atrocious. We just saw Justin Herbert torch these guys this past Thursday night. And I think that, Miami Dolphins are going to have their way with the Raiders. I think this might get a little bit on the ugly side. And when I say ugly, I mean by 10 points. But in the NFL, that's a big, kind of a blowout win. So, I think I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins here, man.
Do you think this goes over 48? Like, I feel like that might be a high number.
Well, 24
with
points
this game.
A team. Yeah, that might be a high number. Both teams like to stay in that, 20, 24 point range. So I think I would take the under on the over-under on this one.
All right. What do you say, Burge?
I think a lot of it's going to come down to who's playing quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders going into this game here. I love what Josh Jacobs and their offense brings to the table. But like you said, their defense hasn't been great the past few weeks. I forget what the spread was in this game, Puma. If you could enlighten me.
2.5 Dolphins.
Dolphins are favored by 2.5 points. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm gonna go with the Raiders in this game, especially if Mariota plays quarterback for them. I like what he's bringing to them, and I think that. You might have a little bit of a quarterback controversy in Oakland. Or sorry, Las Vegas. I got to get used to saying that.
He should be in Oakland. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Well, even John Gruden can't tell anymore because he went out there with an Oakland Raiders hat. So I mean, we'll forgive you.
No, it's all good. I like what he brings there. He balled out in this. When he came in relief.
He did look good.
I'm gonna go with the Raiders to win this game, and if the over under is 48, I would smash. I think I would take the under in that game.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing I want to watch is I want to see how defenses adjust to Marcus Mariota because typically speaking, when a running quarterback comes into a game, there's not much film on him, especially if he hasn't played in that offense in a while. So I think that he got the upper hand against the Chargers on that day, but I want to see if he can sustain that level of high quarterback play. So we'll see how that pans out. But let's move on to the next game. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles at 4-9-1 taking on the Dallas Cowboys at 5-9. Who do you got winning this game, Puma?
Jesus, it's the NFC least. But, I mean...
Can I tell you how mad it makes me that probably a 6, maybe 7 win team is going to get in the playoff and host a playoff game?
Yep. This is God. You gotta love the NFL, man. This is the greatest.
God.
Jay, you say it all the time. This is your trademark. This is the greatest reality TV show of all time.
It's better than Days of Our Lives.
that is very true, my man. That is very true. But I mean, the Eagles are coming off of a loss, but they took the Cardinals to the limit. Jalen Hurts balled out in this game, 24-44, 338 yards. 3 touchdowns, 11 rushes for 63 yards and 1 TD. And Jay, we were talking about this. I mean, he kind of did the get off me fool moment with Budda Baker. I mean, this dude is a strict power lifter. I think, what is he? Squat like 9,000 pounds.
That's like 700 pounds, man.
I mean, this dude is an absolute savage. But, you know, Miles Sanders, 17 rushes, 64 yards, 1 reception for 26 yards. The only issue I have is the defense for the Eagles is still such a liability. And that's not saying a whole lot because the Dallas defense is just an absolute dumpster fire. I know they had 4 turnovers against now we find out a wounded Nick Mullins with an elbow injury. He's not going to be playing for San Francisco the rest of the season. Andy Dalton, 19-33 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard filled in for Ezekiel Elliott, and all season long, let's be honest, I don't think any one of us is going to disagree that Pollard has been the better running back this season compared to Zeke Elliott. 12 rushes, 69 yards for 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions for 63 yards. I mean, God, the spread in this game, I know that the stats have been updated, but I kind of like the Eagles in this game. It's a 2-point spread. The Eagles are favored by 2 points. Over-unders at 49.5. God, it's not saying much, but like I lean Eagles. I lean Eagles. If I have to bet this game, I'm not touching this game at all. But like I pick the Eagles to win.
It's very close to call. Burg, who you got win this game, man?
Puma, I echo your sentiment here. If I was actually a gambling man on sports right now, I would stay the hell away from this one. Look, I loved what Jalen Hurts brought to the table for the Eagles last week against the Cardinals. Obviously, they lost, but you know he had himself a day in his starting debut for the Eagles. I like Miles Sanders to have a big day against this Dallas defense. I mean, Dallas is one of the worst rush defenses in the league. It's just a matter of if the coaching staff decides to lean on him in this one. You know, the Dallas's defense is terrible, as I just said. Their offense, they're so hit or miss. Obviously, Zeke Elliott's struggles and injuries have in play. Tony Pollard actually helped me win my fantasy week this week, which we'll get into in a little bit. Last minute pickup and start there, but you know, I like the Eagles to win this game too. I mean, I think it's a dumpster fire this game. You know, both teams are just not very good all around, but you know, if I was gonna go with it, I would take the Eagles in this one. Hopefully Jalen Hurts can continue to succeed, and maybe Carson Wentz ends up on the trade block at the end of the year, but that's kind of unlikely.
Yeah, man, listen, I'm going to take the Eagles as well. I've been a fan of Jalen Hurts. I think, you know, the Eagles are doing the right thing. I think this is going to be their long-term answer.
And you were banging that drum draft day. This isn't Jay being a bandwagon guy. Jay was Jay. This is on the record. You were on the bandwagon.
I wanted the Patriots to take him, man. I wanted Patriots to take him because I think he is a perfect Bill Belichick guy. And you guys don't watch much football in college, but when you go to Alabama, you essentially, you know, you come in, you win the starting quarterback job, you become a captain, you win the SEC, you take them to the playoffs, you take them to the championship game, and then you get cut, right, which is, you know, absolutely horrendous when you're a college quarterback. But then you go to another blue blood in Oklahoma, and you essentially win the starting quarterback job. You do the same exact thing over again. You get the captain position. You win the Big 12, take them to the playoffs. Like, that is absolutely massive to do that in 2 different college programs. So I knew immediately this guy has great leadership skills. He's going to be good in the NFL. Listen, his arm isn't, you know, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen kind of arm, but it is good enough.
It's good enough.
But I think what I like about him the most is that he is a physical runner, right? And the best way I can equate this is he's kind of like a Derrick Henry at the quarterback position. Obviously not as big, but it is going to be hard for you to tackle him because the guy, like you said, does bench about 700 pounds. He's not like a Kyler Murray kind of runner where one hand will get him on the ground. He looks like he's short, but he's very stout and strong. So I like Jalen Hurts, man. I'm buying into him. I was high on him before the draft. I wanted the Patriots to take him, but I think the Eagles are doing the right thing and they're going to win this game on Sunday. So, but moving on, we've got the 9-5 Los Angeles Rams against the 10-4 Seattle Seahawks. Puma, he got to win this game.
I got to vent about the goddamn Rams real quick.
Go for it, man.
I got to vent about the goddamn Rams. Okay, listen. This is sports better branding coming out real quick. So I had a 3-team teaser. I did this. I discussed this on the little Instagram video that I put up where normally you do 2 teams, but I was feeling particularly froggy this week. And I teased the Rams down to 11.5 points. I teased the Packers down to 2.5. And I teased the Ravens down to, I want to say, 8 points. Either way, Packers, Ravens cover. The Rams are playing the Jets, and I know that Jared Goff is the definition of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I'm like, it's the Jets, it's Sean McVay, the boy wonder head coach. We're gonna figure out a way to scheme this offense up, and you should be able to cover 11.5 points. And my God, like it's a good thing I was working on Sunday because I was ready to flip the desk down here. They lost to the New York friggin' Jets, and I couldn't believe it. It looked like the only person that was playing hard was Aaron Darnold. Darnold fucking had a day, but Aaron Donald on the defensive side of the football. I mean, they when the ageless wonder Frank Gore is rushing for a first down to secure the victory and is actually catching balls out of the backfield. And Sam Darnold is making a case to keep his job and throwing dimes to Ty Johnson. I lost it. When I saw that Ty Johnson touchdown pass, I said to myself, brother, this is gonna be a rough day at the office. You are gonna lose your shirt in this friggin' parlay because of the goddamn Rams. And I just couldn't believe it. But with all that being said, the Seattle Seahawks had no business having the Washington football team hang in the Sunday matchup they had this week. Russell Wilson, he kind of had a head-scratching interception in the game, went 18-27, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The play calling was kind of head-scratching as well, too. They kept running Chris Carson into a brick wall. I think this is a bounce-back game for the Rams. We saw this a couple of weeks ago where Jalen Ramsey shut down DK Metcalf. I think this is going to be must-see TV between those two guys. The point spread right now is at 1.5, but I know, Burge, we got this game at Rams +2, but I'm taking the Rams in this game.
Is DK Metcalf healthy with his hamstring?
I don't think a practice report came out yet. Unless, Burge, we're both managers of DK Metcalf. Unless you have different info, I don't think we got a practice report yet for Metcalf at this point. He's not showing his tag with questionable yet.
No, I mean,
but he did have a bad hamstring pull, right?
Yeah, he had a pretty bad hamstring pull. Yeah.
Well, going into this game here with the Rams and the Seahawks, this is actually going to be my take it to the bank bet for the week. It's going to be my first time picking with the spread here.
Pew, pew, pew!
I'm going to go with the Rams here, with the 2 points. Wasn't it 2.5, Puma?
We got it at... I want to say we got it at...
I think it's 2.5, yeah.
My little bet slip.
If it's
I think
2.5,
we did get it at 2.5.
I don't see the Rams, having such a letdown again 2 weeks in a row. I think they're going to be up for this game. They know that their playoff lives and the division are on the line in this game here. I like the Rams defense to bounce back with Ramsey and Donald, wrecking havoc for Russell Wilson and if healthy DK Metcalf. The Seattle defense is they've done a little bit better. this season as it's gone along, but Cam Akers, I don't even know if he's gonna play in this game, but
I think he's out. I think they already ruled him out.
But even so, they can roll with Malcolm Brown and Henderson in this game, and Goff with Woods and Kupp can do enough against the Seattle defense, the secondary that has shown itself vulnerable throughout the year this year. I like the Rams in a bounce back game here, against the Seahawks. Take it to the bank, plus 2.5.
Actually, quick update: we got it at Rams +2.
Oh, nice.
But I
still
like
it.
The
I
plus
still
points.
like
I think
it.
they cover it. I think they cover that for sure.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams as well here, man. I think I cannot believe the Rams lost to the winless New York Jets. Even worse, I cannot believe the New York Jets gave away Trevor Lawrence like that.
I love it.
My God.
Love it.
Oh, my God. The Jets are going to jet. But listen, it was kind of a weird win for the Seattle Seahawks against the Washington football team on Sunday. 2015, at one point, Russell Wilson didn't cross the 100-yard mark through the air until, early fourth quarter.
Yep.
And then the football team was actually mounting a comeback, and then the 3 sacks that the Seattle Seahawks came up with essentially iced the game. So, listen, I wasn't very pleased with the Seahawks, but I'm starting to get a little worried about the Rams, man. Like I thought they were peaking at the right time when they beat the the Buccaneers. I'm sorry, and I thought they were going to be a team to kind of watch out for in the NFC. But week in and week out, you see this team being so inconsistent. So I think I'm gonna roll with the Rams here in that regard. But let's move on to the final game. It's going to be the Tennessee Titans at 10-4 versus the Green Bay Packers 11-3. Puma, who you got to win this game?
God, I mean, the Titans defense is just so bad. Like they can't generate a pass rush. And Jadeveon Clowney, I think he's done for the year. He had a knee surgery done, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago. But I mean, Tannehill had himself a day against the Detroit Lions. I think he had, five total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 3 through the air. Derrick Henry had himself a day. He stole somebody's soul again, who tried to tackle him up high and just, did this bitch get off me kind of stiff arm and knocked him into the next year. But, I mean, God, the Titans are 3.5-point dogs on the road against the Packers. Like, I'm feeling froggy. I don't have any faith in this Green Bay Packer defense shutting anything down. I'm kind of rolling with the Tennessee Titans in this game. I think they could definitely cover the 3.5. I think they could possibly win outright because it's going to be cold up in Green Bay, and nobody's going to want to tackle a running refrigerator with 4.4 speed and built like a brick shithouse in the way that Derrick Henry is. The over/under is at 56. I feel like that number's right. I kind of like the under in this game, but give me Tennessee. I have faith in Derrick Henry at this point.
I'm kind of with, Green Bay's defense throughout the year statistically has given up. They're pretty. They're not in they're middle high of the league in terms of yardage given up to both rushing and passing, to opposing offenses. And the Aaron Rodgers effect is real. I know he got early in the year he got beat up by the Buccaneers, and it's they have a tendency to kind of let down. I'm gonna go with Green Bay in this game, because they're my Super Bowl pick. But this was a tough one for me to pick. I kind of see it as a toss-up. Could go either way. If Derrick Henry can get going early for this Tennessee Titans offense, that Green Bay could be in a spell of trouble, trying to stop the offense, because once he gets going, the offense works. Like you said, Puma, the Titans defense, not very great this year. The injuries as you laid out. Aaron Rodgers could pick them apart. I could see it very much happening. This is why I didn't take it to the bank on this game. I kind of like Green Bay to win it, and with you, Puma, I'm kind of liking the under a bit here, but I would stay away from it if I was betting.
Yeah, listen, I think I'm rolling with the Packers as well because, The Tennessee Titans do have a bad defense, so the way I see this playing out is the Packers are going to go up early on the Titans, and I think the one way you can negate Derrick Henry is by going up early and forcing Tannehill to throw the ball, essentially taking the ball out of Derrick Henry's hands. So I think that's how it's going to pan out. I am a little concerned with what I saw with the Packers because, man, they barely won against the Panthers the other night in a 24-16 win, and the Panthers do not have a good defense. Like, I thought the Packers were going to walk all over the Panthers, but it was quite the obvious. On the other hand, it was just a close game. It was one possession with like a minute left or whatever it was. So I'm rolling with the Packers here, but listen, I could see it going either way. But the real question I have is for you guys, is Derrick Henry gonna get to that 2,000 rushing yard mark? Because he's 321 yards short right now, which is about 160 yards per in the next two games. Do you think he'll get that 2,000 rushing title?
I think so. I mean, this Packers defense hasn't been able to stop a run since last year. That's really the reason why I have the Titans winning this game. Is I think they can lean on this run game from Derrick Henry and just grind it out. And I wouldn't be surprised if he banged out 140 rushing yards. And I don't have it in front of me who they end the season with, but
Texans.
I think, oh God, yes. How many yards does he need, Jay?
321, so 160 per game.
I could see that happening. Yep.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
I'm with
absolutely.
you, Puma. I think he absolutely can hit it.
Hell, we could get 160 yards, the three of us, against the Houston Texans. You freaking kidding me? Fuck out.
I could see it happening. I see a majority of that happening in Week 17, like I said about the Packers defense. But, I could definitely see that happening.
All right, well, let's talk about some take it to the bank parlay action, Mr. Puma. What we got this week?
So, Jay, through my bookie the other day, I thought we were all talking about point spreads. So I thought you were going to lay the points with Buffalo at 6.5. So I put Buffalo at 6.5 point favorites in the take it to the bank parlay. So let's hope they cover that spread. But real quick, we have in the parlay, we're all doing point spreads this week. Jay against us. Will. My bad, Jay. I'm sorry.
All good.
We have the Rams
now,
plus 2 points.
If they don't, if my bet isn't hit,
if they don't win, that's on me. That's on me.
you.
I'm sorry. That's on me. That's not Jay bust. They can win, but if they don't cover the spread, that's on Brando. That's on me. But Burge has Rams plus 2 points. I took the Dolphins laying 2.5. And Jay Cheema, under duress, is laying 6.5 points with the Buffalo Bills. Some of my other best bets, real quick. I like Indianapolis laying 2.5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals last night. They were 14.5 point favorites, and they just laid an egg last night. And they haven't looked good the last 3 weeks. I think Indy wins by a field goal, at least in this game against the Steelers. The Denver Broncos, I'm feeling froggy. I'm taking the 3.5 points for the Broncos versus the Chargers. I have zero faith in Anthony Lynn as a head coach. And let's be honest, Justin Herbert, for all of his accolades, he is due for a very costly turnover in the second half. And I think that could happen against Denver. Denver's defense is light years better compared to the Las Vegas Raiders. And I get it, not season long, but just the Raiders. I think the defense in Vic Fangio is better than what Rod Marinelli had going on Thursday versus the Chargers. I personally put a ticket in for Buffalo Bills laying the 6.5 points. I like the under in the Tennessee Titans game. I have a ticket with that. Arizona Cardinals, I got them laying 3.5 against the 49ers. CJ Beathard is starting. Raheem Mostert's done for the year. George Kittle might be back this week. Who knows? But give me the Cardinals. They're clicking right now. And the Washington football team. Now, for all of the little peccadillos that are going on with ownership right now, with the lawsuit settlement that came out a couple of years ago, and Dwayne Haskins going to the strip club after covering the 5.5 point spread last week versus the Seattle Seahawks, I still think Washington covers the 2 points versus the Panthers. I like the defense of the Washington football team. I think Alex Smith is going to be healthy enough to start this week. I think Terry McLaurin may have a day. And I just like the defensive front for Washington against this offensive line for the Carolina Panthers. I will gladly lay the 2 points for the Washington football team.
Love it.
Nice. And then finally, let's do a little bit of fantasy football with the Burge.
All right. Well, this was semifinal week for everybody in fantasy football world. I was in one myself, and it was a tough week going into it. Going Saturday, I'm facing Josh Allen, and he lit it up in my league. My league scoring's a little different, but he put up 46 fantasy points, so I was in a bit of a hole going in. To end the day, I was banking on Eric Ebron not getting 9 points, and I'm never one to wish injury on somebody, but I was glad to see him not return in that game against against Cincinnati on last night, Monday night. So I ended up winning my matchup by a 9-point victory, 140 to 131. So I'm in the championship this week. Thank you, Ryan Tannehill, for the five total touchdowns. Thank you, Dalvin Cook, for your day. So I'm looking pretty good. How you guys looking championship weekend?
I'm out of it, bro. I was in the playoffs, but unfortunately I had a craptastic week, and I'm out of it now. So fuck it.
So Burge, my team was the Undertaker kicking out of the casket. That's really all I can describe my team as. I had Saquon Barkley. I lost him week 2, and I had to make trades and be active on the waiver wire to get the number 3 seed at 7-6. And this was a competitive league. A lot of teams were at that 6-6 mark, fighting for the last playoff spot. So you had to win to get in. I would have beat my fiance, whose team name is Go Sports, because she doesn't have a team affiliation. So I lost by 10 points. But here's my thing: I would have been in great shape if Kiki QT would not have lost that fumble on the 1-yard line, because I stacked QT with Deshaun Watson for the rest of the season. So if he comes down with that touchdown, it would have been close. I may have edged her out by like 100th of a point to punch my ticket. But I had Jalen Hurts on my bench. I didn't know he was going to go off in this game. I should have probably put Antonio Brown over Mike Davis against the Green Bay Packers, considering the team that they were playing. But for all of the little peccadillos, I don't really have any regrets for being 0-3 to kicking my way to the semifinals. But that kind of did hurt. And it didn't help that she had my mother-in-law kind of troll me when she got in the house. When she's like, "Hey, Brandon, guess what?" And I'm like, "Hey, Mom, what's happening?" She's like, "Go Sports." And I couldn't say anything.
That's great. That is great.
I looked at her and I was like, "Mom, you got a free pass." I can't even be upset. I can't be upset at you for trolling me like that. But damn, it did hurt a little bit.
Now, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard rumblings that your fiance also left Ezekiel Elliott in the lineup.
Yep, she did. And
you were gonna bring that up, were you?
She did. I mean, I'm kind of 3 glasses into 113 proof whiskey over here. But she left Zeke, and the kicker, Burge, you're gonna appreciate this too. Is when I found out the Zeke news, I have the Fantasy Life app, which anybody that does fantasy sports, you need to have that.
Need it.
But I got the notification, but I was at work, so I went to go pick up Tony Pollard, right? Yep. Dude, I missed out by 2 minutes of picking up Tony Pollard and putting him in my lineup. I was so pissed. I texted the guy who was already in the championship game. He was absolutely rolling. I'm like, "Craig, I love and hate you at the same time. I can't even be mad at you for picking this dude up."
Look, that move, sneaking in and picking him up.
A whole lot of people right there.
Saved me. It saved me, dude. It saved me. I picked him up Sunday morning. Once I saw Zeke was out, I got the notification from ESPN that he was out, and I was like, I need to see if Tony Pollard's available. He was. I picked him up and put him right in, and it propelled me to a championship, because if I don't play Tony Pollard, I lose. So I feel you.
So, Burge, on that note, real quick, none of us are in the big dance except for you. With all that being said, I don't know what kind of waiver wire moves you need to do, but like for you personally, what are you doing to try to punch your ticket to winning the championship? And two, is it a 2-week round like ESPN standard, or are you only doing 1 week and week 17 is kind of a wash? Like, how does your league do it? And I'm guessing your league is 6-point touchdown passing.
I believe it is 4-point passing. We get points if the quarterback goes over 300 yards passing.
Oh, okay. That's why Josh Allen had a high 44.
Yeah,
okay, I got
yeah.
you.
So you get that. But my league here is a 1-week championship. This league is kind of unique. We play for points through the actual Super Bowl. So in terms of the money payout, you want to make sure you have playoff, teams that are going to the actual NFL playoffs on your roster to kind of to win the most money. And I kind of abandoned that mentality. I like to win fantasy football championships, and that's kind of how I build my team towards. Because I got Dalvin Cook on my team, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Henry, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, and so my team's not exactly built to withstand the playoffs to win the most money there. But in terms of dark horse waiver wire pickups, at this point you shouldn't be relying on that. Outside of an injury to a major starting running back, a la Tony Pollard this week, for me, my biggest decision is who I'm going to play at my second wide receiver position. I got Devontae Adams. I have Cooper Kupp. I have Keenan Allen. I have Allen Lazard, DJ Moore. So that's going to be my decision. Luckily, this week, I made the decision after, I prompted a few of my friends, including you guys, you Puma specifically, about should I bench Keenan Allen? And it paid off. I benched him and, saved me. Cooper Kupp I put in there, got me 2 points more than Keenan Allen did. In the grand scheme of things, didn't matter. But if I played DJ Moore, I wouldn't have had to hope that Stonehands Eric Ebron didn't get any points. So, but at this point, it's lineup decisions. If you get a major injury out of a player. I don't think there were any real true major. The DK Metcalf thing's kind of concerning if you have him in your championship matchup. But, at this point, if you're relying on a waiver wire pickup outside of a kicker or a defense, you might be in a little bit of trouble.
Gotcha. So you're taking the wait-and-see last-minute approach, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is. You got to kind of wait and see, play the matchups going into your championship, and kind of hope it falls your way. But as we all know, fantasy football is a bit of a crapshoot.
It's like dating a German chick. It's like dating a German chick. You might love her, but she might not love you back.
Exactly. It's just like you put your
God.
best lineup. You put your best lineup out there, and that's it.
Perfect. Now, Burge, real quick, what's the payout if you win the ship? What are we talking about here, dinero wise?
To be honest with you, I don't even know.
Hey, then you better win. You better win. You better come on the podcast next week saying, "Hey,
Look,
I won like millions of dollars or some shit."
Look, I joined a league, a different league, I think it was 3 years ago. I won the first 2 championships. I was paid out, I think, $800 or $700 a year on that, and then I lost in the championship for a three-peat, and I still took home some money, but it wasn't as much. And then this year my team was on a bit of a rebuild, like the New England Patriots.
This
so
is
I didn't
Dynasty,
make the playoffs. Right? This one I'm talking about is not Dynasty. No, this is just an auction 3-keeper league where you pay 10 more to keep them. And I had Michael Thomas, I had Todd Gurley through his prime, and Melvin Gordon also with the Chargers when he was really good, really cheap, and that's what got me through, helped me get those championships. But my dynasty teams failed this year. Dynasty's a whole different animal. We can talk about it on a different podcast in the off season. But yeah, this is a standard redraft, 1 keeper, where you draft them. And I've been in the championship 2 years in a row. I lost last year. I'm hoping this year I can close it out.
Well, we want to hear the dollar value that you bring home to the Pro Football Radio podcast. So
I'll find that out. Don't worry.
You better find out. Damn.
Cool. All right, I want to get to one last thing before we jump off the line here.
Oh, boy.
Oh, here we go. Hey, real quick, Jay. We have to be at Joe Rogan-esque podcast at this point, right?
92 minutes, but I've given
fuck
up
it.
on.
Let's
I've
go.
given
Let's
up
go,
on
babe.
trying to put any sort of containment on this podcast.
Let's go.
Listen,
Fuck it. Damn the torpedoes.
When the content flows, let the content flow. You know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm sure you
what
guys. I'm sure you guys saw the news of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The 49ers. Signing away Josh Rosen from the Buccaneers practice squad. So what do you think is the thought process for Kyle Shanahan behind bringing Rosen to the 49ers? Is it strictly in a backup role? Is there some sort of, hey, maybe Jimmy G isn't our guy yet? Like, what's your thought? What are you thinking the thought process is for Kyle Shanahan?
Jimmy G to New England.
Oh, God.
Besides
that. All
that.
right. Let's stick with me on Earth here. So Jimmy G's not coming back this season because of an ankle injury. To some people, it's air quote ankle injury. Nick Mullins has an elbow issue. He's getting surgery. He's shut down for the year. Their only healthy quarterback is CJ Beathard. Like, you need a body. If Josh Rosen's the guy with the pulse, that worst case break glass in case of emergency, he fills in for CJ Beathard, then God bless you. But I'm not reading too much into that. I think it's just you need a body with the pulse at that point that can throw the football and read a play sheet.
Yeah, listen, I think this might be the beginning of the end for Jimmy G, man. Like it's starting to look like Jimmy G is not going to play for the rest of the year because obviously they're out of the playoffs and it makes no sense for him to come back. But, I still can't get out of my mind last year they actually actively went after – well, they didn't actively go after Tom Brady, but they had conversations about bringing Tom Brady in, but they decided not to do it. But
Sean Payton had conversations with Tom Brady too.
Yeah, but when John Lynch goes out there and actually says it, that just adds some major fuel to that speculation fire, right?
Wasn't that back when Jimmy was traded? Didn't John Lynch ask about Brady at that point? Is that what you're thinking of, or was there actual conversation?
He asked about him in the offseason too.
No, this past offseason, there was a report out. John Lynch actually went on radio and said, hey, we actually talked to Tom Brady to bring him into San Francisco, but eventually we stuck with Jimmy G. So, listen, I think there's a lot of smoke there, man. And, I hate to admit it, but Burge might be right here with his thought process. Like, I think Jimmy G might be up for grabs at the end of the year if to see anything out of value out of Josh Rosen. I've been under the mindset that Kyle Shanahan was never really sold on Jimmy G. There's always these reports out there that he never really trusted him with his decision making. So listen, anything can happen in the NFL. We've seen far strange things happen, but I think if Josh Rosen shows anything, which is a tall ask, truthfully, because Josh Rosen hasn't shown anything at all, this might be the end of Jimmy G in San Francisco. Thought process, Burge?
Here we go.
I'm with you there. I mean, I've been kind of saying this all year in terms of Garoppolo not being in San Francisco next year. I know Puma disagrees with me. I think he's due quite a bit of money. I mean, his dead cap hit from this year to next year. I mean, his dead cap hit next year is only $2.8 million if they cut him. His salary is, 26.4 if he's on the roster. This very well could mean that they want to move on and reset the position. I mean, he kind of let them down in the Super Bowl last year when they needed him. And I see a legit potential that he's going to be on the free agent market come March. I know, Puma, I know you disagree. I can hear it in your sighing over there. But, it could make sense for them if they don't think that he is a long-term solution for that franchise and they want to reset it now. Who better to do it with than a former first-round pick that you can kind of take a flyer on?
Oh, God. Listen, I'm the biggest Josh Rosen defender, and even I'm saying this move was just to have a person with the pulse to fill in behind CJ Beathard.
I won't disagree with you on that, but it kind of fuels the fire. It fuels the fire. I mean, the talk has been around. They know they don't owe Jimmy G all that much money after this season, and you see the writing on the wall. If they want to move on, now's the time to do it in San Francisco. Just cut ties. You free your cap up and go a different direction. And say what you want. Josh Rosen, he's brought in week 16 of the year. He's brought in week 16 of the year. He's not going to do anything with the team this year. But if they think that they might be able to do something with him, and you have Nick Mullins coming back next year, who he's you can say what you want about him. I mean, he hasn't looked great. He hasn't looked horrendous either. So
I think if Kirk Cousins becomes like a free agent somehow out of Minnesota, and he goes to, obviously there's rumblings that he goes to San Francisco. He has a connection with Kyle Shanahan from his days out in Washington. Then I would buy that stock in moving on from Jimmy G. But I mean, listen, a former first round pick that has had kicked to the curb by the Arizona Cardinals, had a cup of coffee with the Miami Dolphins, was on the practice squad with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Unless Kirk Cousins is becoming available in free agency, I think Jimmy G is coming back to the Bay Area next year.
So you think they're all in on him?
Mikey P. I mean, I just think because of how complex the offense is for Kyle Shanahan with that West Coast offense on steroids, unless a person familiar with that offense, a la
Nick Mullins.
Well,
but Nick Mullins looked like dog shit against the Dallas Cowboys, and he looked brutal the week before against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I know they had a whole lot of love for Nick Mullins going into the season. A couple of teams inquired about trading for him. But, I mean, unless Kirk Cousins becomes available, is familiar with that offense, I'm not buying that stock.
How hard and complex is the offense if you turn around and hand it off 65 times? But
look at that. Look at that game against. I know. I have an idea of what game you're referencing, Jay, and look at the Green Bay Packers defense last year. Like the San Francisco 49ers are still running on the Green Bay Packers defense right now. I mean, if that is the weak point of your defense, your job as an offensive coordinator and as a head coach is to attack your opponent's weakness. If they can't stop the run, then keep running the fucking football until they stop you. And if they can't stop you and you just hand the football off 45 times, then so be it.
Okay, all right.
I'm just saying, I like the move financially for the 49ers.
Oh yeah, they could definitely cut him without holding the bag.
And that's what's driving my seeing him on the free agent market come March this year, is the fact that they don't have to commit any dead cap hit to move on from him. And you saw what it was last year, and I see it happening. I'll take the L in March if I have to.
It's going to be fun. Put it on the board. Put it on the board. Brando says Jimmy G stays in the Bay Area. Everyone else says Jimmy G is going to New England.
All right, so
I never said that.
Oh, here we go. Now we pussyfooting around. All right, Burge.
Well, listen, we're at 101 minutes, so let's wrap this
up. Fuck it. To hell with it.
Before we go, Puma, I got one last question for you.
Here we go.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
What is this? Here we go. I'm just asking you a question. Can I ask you questions?
I wasn't born last night, Jay. Here we go.
Let's say this is, like late January, right? And let's say hell is frozen over, and in the AFC Championship game, it's your Miami Dolphins, right? And your Buffalo Bills. Who are you supporting to win in that game? Because I think you're leaning Josh Allen, right?
I mean, I'm a Dolphins fan. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm going to pull for my team to win.
Okay.
Okay. Listen, if you take an objective view, and also it kind of helps to have an objective view in sports betting, I hope you two are taking fucking notes.
Hey, I won last night, okay? I won my over-under. I lost my parlay.
You lost your parlay.
I won my over-under, okay?
Yeah, but you still lost the parlay because you took Pittsburgh to cover 14.5 points, and I told you that was too much.
No, I took the money line. I took the money line for Pittsburgh.
And you still lost!
I know! Who the hell is supposed to know that the
I told you, Jay. I told you. I am not touching this game with the 10-foot pole. I am glad I talked myself out of betting that fucking football game. And you still put in an 8-leg parlay the Pittsburgh Steelers to just win outright, who they haven't done anything the last 3 weeks, and an over-under in a game where the Steelers alone haven't scored 20 points over the last 3 weeks. I think they might have crossed that threshold last night. I was a couple of whiskeys in that last night, so I didn't see the scoreboard.
I was feeling froggy with my bookie hat. That was the issue.
Yeah, well, goddamn, wear the hat backwards next time.
That's the official bookie hat.
pull your LL Cool J. But I mean, no. I'm a realist. Our offensive line is still a problem. You need to establish the run at some point.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking about.
Yeah, and I'm telling you.
I'm not asking about analysis. I just want to know.
No, but I'm telling you, Jay. I'm telling you that, like,
who do you want to win that game?
Pick with your heart, not with your brain.
Yeah, because we can sit here and analyze that game.
If you two are gonna be bulliers, you can't have this conversation. Like, you need to look at this with stats. Listen, I wasn't a fan.
Deep down in your heart, who you want to win that game?
Deep down in my heart, like, I want the Dolphins to win. But
that's all I asked for.
No. Hey, Donald Trump Jr., take it fucking easy over there. Take it fucking easy over there. You need to look at this with stats. This is a stat-based business, so don't act surprised over there in Southbury that I'm saying this. But, like, you need to look at this with stats. We haven't had an offensive identity at all this year, especially with Tua Tagovailoa at the helm. And listen, I get it. He is the future of the franchise. But even still, he was a passenger in the win last week against the New England Patriots. He hasn't really been lighting up the scoreboard. He's been relying a lot on the defense. The defense has been balling out if they're able to establish a pass rush. We haven't had a run game, and the Buffalo Bills defense is clicking at the right time. And if, again, you can't establish a pass rush against this offensive line for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen's going to pick you apart, or he's going to roll out and rush for 2 touchdowns and have 50 yards on the ground. And, you know, my heart says I want the Dolphins to win, but realistically, and especially as a sports bettor, I think the Buffalo Bills would cover whatever point spread there is. And if they played in the AFC Championship game, I would say the point spread might be at least the Buffalo Bills laying 5.5 points.
So let me get this correct. If I got this correct, essentially what you just said was you essentially somehow picked both teams. So essentially what we have is Skip Bayless. We have Skip Bayless Jr. here on the podcast, essentially playing both sides of the fence. I asked you a simple question, and you gave me a 20-minute soliloquy about how you can see both teams winning, but your heart wants to.
I didn't say I could see both teams winning, Jay. If you want to rewind the tape and listen, you said, "Oh, you got to pick with your heart." Well, yeah, obviously my heart is going to say the Miami Dolphins, but when you look at a factual standpoint, we have no offensive line still. We have no run game. We're not going to go to an AFC Championship game unless every team that we play comes down with fucking COVID, which God forbid does not happen.
Skip.
I do not want that.
I'm doing my best shot.
Oh, really? Right really? Colin Cowher writing quarterback
Adam Jones Jr.
Fuck out of here. Fuck you and your horse you rode in on with that bullshit.
I'm doing my Shannon impersonation.
Get the fuck out of here.
Puma. I share your heart.
If you're looking at this realistically,
it was a simple question. If you ask me,
well, yeah, now it's simple. Oh, you gotta pick with your heart. Yeah, I said with my heart, I want the Dolphins to win. Realistically, the Buffalo Bills would probably win that game. Like, what are we fucking talking about here?
I thought it was a simple question. Apparently not.
Okay. All right. Well,
my heart's with yours, Puma.
We can rewind the tape, and a simple question would be, whose fault is it? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? Okay.
Easy.
We could do that. We could do another hour on the fucking New England Patriots, for Christ's sake. Let's go. We'll have Joe Rogan-esque podcast. It'll be 4 hours, Alex Jones style, on the Pro Football Radio podcast.
Easy.
Listen.
Now you two want to grab Pepto-Bismol. Get the fuck out of here.
Pepto-Bismol. My heart is with you, Puma, in that game. Get out of here.
God damn it. I don't want to hear shit.
I don't know where all this hate's
fucking Asian provocateur over here out of Southbury.
It's that 112 proof whiskey.
You with your name.
Don't take out your internal frustration with me, man. I just asked
what internal frustration? I know what we are. I know what we are as a football team. We have not had a run game over the last 2 years. We have not Devontae Parker is the first player in NFL history to have a 5-year breakout season because he didn't do anything the first 4 years under Adam Gase, which it's Adam Gase. You have to take that with a grain of salt. But we have not done anything over the last 20
You own a Josh
years.
Allen jersey.
He's really
And that's
struggling
fine.
where-
Game
he's really
respects
struggling
game.
with where he lands. But listen, I got it down. Listen, I have it written down here. If they meet in the AFC Championship game, you're gonna root for the Buffalo Bills. I'm sorry, Miami
Amen.
Dolphins.
No, but Buffalo Bills. He's rooting for the Bills. He's got the Allen jersey.
There we go. I'm not even going to dignify
right,
you
listen.
two jackasses with a response.
We love you, Puma. You know we love you. All right, man. Listen, I think we've done
Fucking
enough.
Dan Bollier Jr. and Dan Bollier II up in this fucking podcast.
Easy.
Oh, don't even give me easy,
I'm not a
George. I
fan
don't
of
wanna
all
hear
teams.
shit.
I'm not a fan of all teams like
I'm not a fan
Bully
of all
always.
teams too, but hey,
No,
listen. When
yes, you are.
when
You love the Buffalo Bills.
Hang on. When you finally start dabbling your toe a little bit more in the sports betting world, you're gonna understand that at the end of the day, it comes down to making money. So if that means I have to lay 5.5 points with the Buffalo Bills to make money at the end of the day, I am going to
Cop
do
out.
that in a cocaine heartbeat. So
Cop out.
I mean, okay, Burge. Talk to me when we start dabbling the whole right foot in the pool of sports betting.
I'll never do that.
Here we go.
I think we've had enough of this podcast.
God fucking damn it.
We're 109
God
minutes
forbid
in,
somebody
so-
be a realist with
Real
their
quick.
fucking team.
Real quick.
God
real
forbid
quick.
we do that. God forbid we take the 10,000-foot view of what our own individual football team is.
Brandon, I
Come
think that's a
on,
simple
come
question,
on,
brother, man.
come
Fuck
on,
outta
man.
here.
Simple question.
I think-
Simple question. Listen.
Go ahead.
Real quick before you plug it up, I wanna give a shout out to my boy. Well, the guy that got me into fantasy football at the beginning of the day, who's been chirping me all day about our bets in the
about
take it
time
to the bank
somebody else
parlay.
Bet the
And
goddamn spread.
You know what? I finally, Crunch. This guy has been huge influence in me playing fantasy football from day one, and he's been calling me out on our bets for the last 4 weeks. All right, this guy has been there, through everything with me from fantasy football. But I want him to know I took the spread this week because he called me out, and if I lose, it's because of him. And he decided to take the Kansas City Chiefs money line this week because I took.
Oh, really? Wait a minute.
Favorite.
Wait a minute. Your guy Crunch was busting your balls for not betting the spread, and he takes the Chiefs money line.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's doing it to troll me.
God.
He's doing it to troll me. He's doing it to troll me because
I would be taking the money line too, Crunch, if the Kansas City Chiefs haven't covered the spread over the last 5 weeks.
Who's this Crunch guy? Who's this Captain Crunch guy?
No,
Crunch,
he's a big part of my dynasty football league. And
Crunch, I haven't met you, and I like you, but if you're gonna start throwing stones against my man Burge, then your ass better be laying down some friggin' points. That's all I'm saying.
If your name is halfway rhyming with Captain Crunch, I'm in, bro. You're my boy.
Hey, he's a great man. He's an awesome dude. He
Lay the
loves
points, Crunch.
Be
a man.
Hey, he's been one that's been responding to the podcast, so I respect him for it.
I love you, Crunch.
I respect him for it, and I took the spread this week, and I'm gonna prove him wrong. So plug it up.
Yeah. Of course, you take the Chiefs. Of course, covered in 5 weeks. Anyways, this podcast, Pro Football Radio Podcast, can be found on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, Google Podcast, Stitcher, YouTube. This is definitely going to be a must-watch, must-listen-to episode of the podcast, especially during the Christmas holiday, and you got to start doing some traveling plans. Social media-wise, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter, @PFR Podcast. I'm at Brando_Puma on the Twitter machine. Jay Cheema is at Jay Cheema. Burge is at Burge, the goalie, on the Twitter machine. Like, subscribe, download, hit us up on social media. We're definitely going to be needing some fan mail questions going into the offseason, going into the playoffs, where the field is starting to get whittled down. So definitely hit us up on all platforms.
Wonderful. Listen, that concludes podcast 73. Looks like we might have some technical difficulties with the audio on Puma at the end there, but I think we should be good. Burg, if you're there as well, let's call it a wrap, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Let's go. Get ready for the trash talk, and let's go.
Fire.